Hi Bright People, I'm Reva and this is The Bright Minds. I'm here with someone from the wellness field, and have you ever wondered when someone is mindful and focused and optimal at their work, how do they do that? So let's find out right now. Hi Mbak Prisya.
Hello, Reva. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you too. So can you introduce yourself to the Bright People?
Yeah. Hello, Bright People. My name is Raden Prisya, and I'm a mindfulness practitioner, and I have been practicing this expertise since 2019, and now my daily routine consists of my own wellness self-care, and also I have my own classes at Mind Revive Indonesia, and I'm also pursuing a certification that finishes perhaps a few years after. So
wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and also being a mom of two.
Great. So I want to ask you, how did you start your career?
Okay, so I started it actually more in 2016 when I first realized that I haven't really got the goal that I really wanted in life. And that happens when my first son, he had this developmental delay. And that was the time when I feel like I needed to fix the things that I really needed to fix in my life, you know. Back then I was a fashion editor, and that was kind of far away from what I'm doing right now. Yeah, and so I started from pursuing the education for early childhood. So I became a kindergarten teacher, and that was the time where I first pursued mindfulness. Yeah.
So the thing that triggered you to pursue mindfulness is because of when you had your son.
Yes.
Oh, I see. When you started working on this, did you have any doubts inside of yourself, in your mind, about what you're going to do?
Well, actually, I used to have doubts all my life.
We all do.
Yeah, we all have been there, or maybe we're still there. Yeah. And at first, I tried pursuing my goals just like what the society might want me to do. You know, like they like people who had a lot of accomplishments,
I see, yeah.
high education, or perhaps like maybe carrying branded stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that it's superficial, but I wasn't really sure about what I really wanted to do in life back then. So after I felt like something was empty back then, I decided to look at it as an opportunity to really know what I actually want. You know, like sometimes we need to have a certain experience to realize what we really want to do in life. And in me, what happened was that because my son has this developmental delay, which I already took him to various kinds of therapy. Yeah, and then when I pursued the education for early childhood, that made me first encounter the field of mindfulness. Well, when you are pursuing to be a good parent, you need to be a mindful parent. So in order to be a mindful parent, you have to be a mindful person.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, so my difficulty in life back then took me into something that made me pursue what I really, really wanted to do in life. And I wasn't having doubts back then. I was just trying to fix my problems. But how I fixed my problems turned out to be my next field of expertise.
That's a good coincidence.
Yeah.
So usually when you have these doubts, how do you overcome it? Because you say that you have doubts all the time. So like when you have these doubts, how do you overcome it yourself?
Well, it took a long time for me to ignore those doubts you know?
So you tried to ignore it.
I tried to ignore it until one thing, it's about my son and about my postpartum experience,
Oh, I see. Okay.
forced me to face my doubts. And after that, that was a turning point that I didn't really experience any doubt anymore. Because like I had those days before, right? So when I started feeling like, okay, I'm gonna stop ignoring my doubts and I'm just gonna do whatever it takes to make me find myself. Strangely, after I decided to do that, that was also the time where I feel like I don't need to listen to so many people anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
That feels very freeing. Yeah?
Yes, that was so much freeing, and I felt like I just went out with the flow. You know, when you started thinking that this is my life and I want to pursue what I need to pursue, that's where freedom actually came.
Can you explain to us a little bit more about the postpartum experience that you experienced?
Well, being a mom could be overwhelming, especially for new mothers. And and I had quite a long time adapting with motherhood itself, that I finally, at some point, I realized that I kept trying to find another identity instead of just being a mother. Like being a housewife and just a mom wasn't really enough for me back then. So I tried to find another identity along with motherhood, you know? And then I tried to do a lot of things, like I tried to make my fashion label, I tried to do another things, and I tried healing with going places, on holidays, shopping.
And did it work?
Well, when I came home, my every problem came right back then. You know?
So it's just like an escape, yeah?
Yes. So that was an escape, and just like what I told you before, I tried to escape from my problems, and then when I came home, they were all waiting. Like, hello, where have you been?
Okay, so can you give us a little bit of a deep dive into your career journey?
Yeah, okay, so I have never really planned to be a mindfulness practitioner, to be honest. Just as what I said before, I was trying to fix my problems. I was trying to gain my consciousness. I was trying to just be honest and listen to myself. You know, that very self that I used to ignore for a very long time. So when I realized that I wanted to help people gain their consciousness, awareness, and listen more to themselves, that was where I started to share what I learned about mindfulness through social media. But I didn't have any intention of being a teacher or like being an expertise of mindfulness, so I just shared. And then when I started sharing, people came. So I started to meet new friends from social media. They shared their stories. They told me that I was not alone. Like a lot of people, and mostly mothers, had the same experience. And then they started asking me to bring out a class.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, like, you know, it would be nice if you have some kind of a sharing session.
Because it would help them too, right?
Yes, or a support group. But back then I wasn't really sure because I haven't got any expertise. Yeah, you know, but then I attended this seminar by Tony Robbins in Singapore. It was in 2019, and it changed my life. So I learned that Tony Robbins first held his own class without any certification. Not that I wanted to encourage anyone not to take like any formal education. Of course, we need it also. But I just felt like I can share what I can share at that time. So I just started sharing. You know, I just started sharing in an educational purpose, you know. Like I shared to them what I know, so perhaps I could help them become the best version of themselves at that time.
Okay, so I want to talk about your videos that I saw on TikTok. Right? Well, bright people are maybe young people who likes to get information through TikTok, right?
Yeah.
So I saw lots of you just talking about gentle parenting, and that those videos are what those are my favorite videos because it was very insightful because the way you parent your children has a lot of effect for them in the future. So can you tell us a little bit more about that and why you decided to make lots of videos like on TikTok or in Instagram?
You know, like there was so many information, like they keep scrolling. I just wondered if my FYP knows exactly what I'm feeling. And you can start from there. Start from being compassionate to a part of you that's scared of facing yourself.
Kak, harus gimana sih kalau kita ngerasa stuck? Oke, yang bilang stuck itu kan dirimu, dan itu adalah label yang kamu berikan kepada dirimu sendiri. Tapi gimana kalau ternyata stuck itu adalah sebuah pertanda untuk kamu membuat terobosan-terobosan dalam hidup kamu? Mungkin ada kebiasaan yang perlu dirubah, mungkin ada subjek yang perlu dipelajari, mungkin ada masalah yang perlu dibenahi, ya, atau mungkin memang waktunya buat kamu untuk bersabar dan enjoy the process. Pada akhirnya nggak ada yang percuma terjadi di hidup kita, karena seperti Tony Robbins bilang, life happens for you and not just to you. Hidup terjadi untuk kita dan tidak hanya menimpa kita. Jadi setiap hal itu ada pembelajarannya dan tergantung kita mau ngambil pelajaran dari situ apa enggak. Jadi buat yang merasa stuck, coba telah mana yang bisa dibenahi, apa masalah yang bisa dipecah.
So speaking about TikTok, well, that was quite funny actually when I first decided to, just go into TikTok and like have myself there talking, because people are dancing on TikTok, right? People are dancing and they're doing their jokes, they're talking about their own stuff. Yeah, and I just, what came to mind was that I just wondered if these youthful audiences in TikTok might need just a tiny bit education about awareness and mindfulness. Okay. Like there was so many information, like they keep scrolling. There were like a lot of music changing constantly. Yeah, and then I just wonder, what if I get into an FYP content and then they just suddenly bump into my video and there's not much music in there and this woman is just talking.
Yeah, just educating.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I always start with a question like, do you know blah blah blah, or like, have you ever felt like blah blah blah? And surprisingly, it went well. Yeah. And there were like a bunch of comments arriving. A lot of questions arises there. Yeah. And I just felt like some people in TikTok, they commented on my video like this: I just wondered if my FYP knows exactly what I'm feeling.
All right, because
because like what you told me in this video is exactly what I needed right now. Yeah, and I believe that sharing is not only about how many audience you can grab or like how many followers you can have. It can be like just a little bunch of people who are like thinking about where they're going to bring their life to. Yeah, and I believe that there's no much people thinking about that. Well, I just believe that talking about consciousness and how this could be a heavy topic for some people, it doesn't mean that it's wrong. Like when people are not pursuing mindfulness and consciousness doesn't mean that they're not right, you know what I mean? But I believe that each one of us has their own phase, their own periods, of knowing thyself, of learning. They all have different progresses. So what I needed to do is simply focus on their awareness. So I might seem like giving advice, but the only advice I'm giving is to listen more and be more conscious with yourself. Because it's your process. Even a person that's not conscious, I cannot you have to be conscious and mindful. I cannot say that. Yeah. If it's not what they need right now, then it's not what I need. They need to be in another progress, and they might come here or they might not. But it's not mine to decide. Yeah.
Have you ever felt like maybe your TikTok is in everyone's FYPs, or you're just on top of your career, but unexpectedly something happens and it really crushed you. Have you ever felt that shocking experience?
Actually, you guys came right on time because it happened just a week ago. but luckily, it was not in a place where everyone could see that.
I see.
Like after I started studying and learning about a lot of things and more in-depth things, I realized that the conflicts or the obstacles that I have is more about my inner battle with myself. Yeah, so I just got this very, very difficult experience as a learning process. And as you know, I was pursuing another certification. Yes. And something that happened just made me feel like I was incapable and I wasn't able to perform. But then I realized that performing was not really the goal, right? Like we have no need to perform to others. What we need to do is simply to be present, right? So in every problem that we have, mostly it's because a part of us wants to have like a certain goal or a certain destination that is mostly we cannot control. Yeah, it's always about other people, whether they feel like we're good enough or we're being a perfect person in front of other people, right? And then how I try to fix that problem is simply just to return to myself and face that part of me who wants to be perfect and performing with kindness and compassion. And that's always the solution to every part of us that's wanting our attention.
But it might be tough to face yourself and your fears, your doubts. Do you have any advice on that for bright people right here?
So if you feel like there's fear in facing that parts of you that you know you needed to face, simply be aware that there's a part of you that's being scared right now. Like I sense something in me being scared of facing myself. And you can start from there. Start from being compassionate to a part of you that's scared of facing yourself. And after you face that part, being kind to that part, it's like facing a wolf that's angry, you know?
Very scary.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And when you're being angry yourself, you and the wolf are just shouting to each other, wasting your energy.
Yeah.
And you're not even befriending the wolf. But if you started feeding, or like not feeding, just accompany and being kind, you know, like an animal's like wow, being wild, and then you tame it.
Yes.
It can like, and that's how you deal with a part of you that's being unkind. Because we're always the space. We're never a part of us. You know, we are never identified with our emotions. We're always the space that could like be present with all of our parts that need attention.
So after all these years, what do you think is your most biggest accomplishment to date?
I think my greatest accomplishment is about me living in my true life purpose. Like, I feel like I know exactly that this is what I want to do in life, and I never waited for the weekend, and I'm never scared of Monday, you know? And I think how I live like this, and I'm now working with my husband in the house. So this house is like our office and also our home. Yeah, and this is the kind of like that I really wanted, you know? And I think that's the biggest accomplishment that I have. And I'm really grateful to God for that.
That's really beautiful to hear. Wow, bright people, we can learn a lot from this conversation. So stay tuned, bright people, because after this, we're gonna practice to gain our mindfulness.
Through our phones, we can always stream, and after we're streaming, there's always a next episode button during the practice. And collect your awareness to wherever you are, the room you're in.
Hi, bright people, and this is The Bright Minds. Welcome back. Since a lot of people are chasing their target rapidly, in this demo segment, can you practice with us to live mindfully in the age of distraction?
Before this era, we can still say time management, but now it's getting harder because our distraction lives so close to us. Through our phones, we can always stream, and after we're streaming, there's always the next episode button. We can never know when to stop, except we can be mindful and aware of what we truly need, so we wouldn't disturb our way of life, the way we eat, the way we sleep, the way we do exercise. So what we can do is simply to be aware to our breathing. And I'm gonna invite all of you to practice with me today. And I simply ask you to just sit comfortably. You can put your body in a comfortable sitting position. And if you feel like closing your eyes, you can welcome to do so, or simply just look down with a gentle focus. And you can start breathing. Simply to breathe and be aware of every inch of air that you put inside your body. And also being aware with the transition of your breathing. The breathing in and the out breath. Breathe in through your nose and also breathing out through your nose. Sensing your breathing and letting it deeper if it wants to. Listening to your breathing as it is. And now you can be aware of the sensations in your body. Perhaps they're heaviness or lightness, itches, pain, any kind of sensation, whether it's the pleasant or unpleasant. And if your mind wanders, simply return your awareness to your breathing. Listening to the in-breath and the out-breath, just as it is. Observing whatever comes, letting it arise, without pushing it away. And just gently shift your awareness to your breathing once again. Being aware that whatever you need is already here. And what we need is simply to be aware of our breathing and consciousness right here and right now. And if your mind wanders, you can always shift again your awareness to your breathing and begin again with no judgment. And we can close this practice with a gentle completion. You can start thanking your body, thanking God, or thanking all the signals that has been brought into your body and your mind during the practice. And collect your awareness to wherever you are, the room you're in, to support where you're seated. Perhaps touching your fingers to one another. Perhaps stretches that might make your body feel lighter. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and be back into the room. How was that?
It was actually a little bit tough at first because it felt a little bit heavy and I couldn't actually focus. And then I tried to close my eyes, and even though I opened them again, I just felt a little bit more relaxed than when I first started breathing.
Yeah. Beginnings can be difficult.
Yeah.
Beginnings can be difficult and it can be messy in the middle, but it's always beautiful in the end. So what we need to do is just start. Being mindful and practicing mindfulness isn't about perfection, because if you put pressure on yourself to do this perfectly, you will create another tension on yourself. So just be aware of whatever comes, even your imperfections, and just let them stay there as they are. Thank you for practicing with me.
Thank you. Well, bright people, I had a wonderful time with Mbak Prisya today. Thank you so much for your time. I hope that you will achieve more of your goals in the future. So, do you have any closing statements before we close our show?
Hoping that everyone can stay true to themselves, and remember that when we're practicing mindfulness, it will keep going as a journey. So appreciate all your journey, and I'm really thankful to be here, and I hope this conversation will be beneficial for all of you. Thank you so much, Bright Minds, and also Kak Reva.
Thank you, Mbak Prisya. That also applies to me too. And don't forget, bright people, to tune in every week for The Bright Minds to see more of the inspirational speakers. I'm Reva signing out, and see you on the other episode of Bright Minds. Bye!